Cheers, Corey. JR's cracking up. JR, why are you cracking up, bro? What did you see? What did you view in this situation?
Oh, yeah, I agree with Corey, man. The way he looked at her is like, like no, like this is not working right now. Like, I think she's expecting him to make moves that he is just not feeling like making. She's got Blake. She already kissed Blake. Her strongest connection's been Blake the whole time. I know she may be trying to get more connections at this stage or trying to step it up so she doesn't end up in the bottom. But the fact is, this isn't the guy that's going to be riding for her. And again, like, I don't get why, if he isn't feeling her as his, a strong connection, the chemistry hasn't been there the whole time. I don't get how this date ended up at the house, because the house is a very personal, it's your personal space. So I don't understand that one. Like, if it was Cynthia, maybe, that could have been a progression from their earlier date. But with Suan, there's no connection there. So I don't get it.
Okay, real quick. I think I got it, guys. I think I understand what's going on. I think that Anthony is a late bloomer. The reason why I say that is because I know Seaway, I know, but the reason why I say that is because Anthony may be intimidated with the women that's attracted to him. He may not have had women that were that attractive, that were that attracted to him. So he doesn't know what to do in the situation. He doesn't know how to talk to them. He's like, the little nerd in high school that that's shy when pretty woman says something to him. That may be what it is. Now we may be misjudging that, because I saw that look in his eye was like he did not know what to do next. It's not that he didn't want to, but he didn't want to mess something up by saying something wrong. He's not used to it. So he has the beard, true, but he may not have always had that beard. If you trim that beard down, was he still attractive to women? So that's the question we have to ask each other. You know what I'm saying, when it comes to how he's engaging with them, because something is definitely missing, and we may be pointing in the wrong direction. I'll say that for myself.
I wish he would have
Mm-mm.
invited Cynthia to this date, because then we could really see, what their connection is like. But Suan, that was the last person I was expecting. It was very awkward and uncomfortable. But I think also he might be mindful of the cameras, and then being a nurse, you have to carry yourself a certain way. I work with a lot of NPs that are, they're assertive, so I don't get how he's not. But yeah, the date was really confusing. But I think he picked to dance because remember how she said when they were dancing on the boat, she thought he would come out of his shell. So I think that was him attempting to recreate that moment, but it was just, a fail. No chemistry at all.
Okay. I hear you. I hear you. Wait, before we go any further, I just realized I didn't read out the poll, and I need to do that. I need to be dedicated. Okay. The question I asked was, why is Anthony not showing much assertiveness? I put ABC, which was 18%, the lowest, second to lowest. No woman there for him, 71%, and Morgan and Marcia are too much, 11%. So overriding, most people think that his woman is not there in that particular poll. Just encouragement for you guys. Well, there's 650 of you guys and climbing, loving it. I need you guys to like the live. Okay, keep sending a good signal to YouTube to let them know that this show is what you want to see more of. So like the live. We have over 200 likes at the moment, but let's keep it going. Got 650 of you guys and climbing. Like the live. Okay, all right, like the live. All right, let's get back onto the conversation. Let's get back into the conversation. Seaway, talk to me. What are you saying?
Yeah, I just think, well, one, Suan is awkward, right? Like, Suan is super awkward, so I do agree with the commenters that she was the worst person that could have came on that date, because she's not going to bring out anything out of him, because she's like super awkward, and doesn't really want Anthony anyway. But it's just a red flag when you start talking about women in the abstract, when he was saying, there's connections here that I'm really growing with when you're sitting in front of somebody. And also, I mean, Suan was in his house, allegedly, supposedly, if that's his house. And I just feel like when someone comes to your house, like you're supposed to give more energy, and he also didn't lead with that at all. So, I mean, maybe Corey's right. He's a late bloomer. That's possible, but he has a whole kid. So I don't know if I'm going with that. I mean, I guess you could be a late bloomer with a whole kid, but that doesn't really kind of correlate. So I just feel like Anthony just doesn't seem interested in any of the women on this show, but I think he goes beyond that. And I'm kind of big on like paying attention to the flags. Like it's not, there's a lot of men that have been on this show that aren't interested in any women on the show. Like I feel like Blake isn't interested in any of the women on the show for real. There's been men before who are not interested in any of the women on the show, and they don't really come off like Anthony. I don't think Blue, if that's his name, is interested in any of the women on the show like that. And that doesn't really mean that they aren't interested in women in general. So I think if Anthony is giving interesting vibes, people should just pay attention to that. Because you cannot be interested in women on the show and not come off the way he's coming off. So Olivia said Blake got Susu in theory. In theory.
Just real quick on what you said, Seaway. I think if Anthony stays long enough for us to see his ex, I think that'll tell us a lot. And with that late bloomer, what I was meaning by that is the level of attraction, right? So you can have a child with a woman, but it's that level of attraction that can be intimidating for some men, and that's the part I was speaking on. But yeah, good point though. Good point.
Yeah, I mean Anthony just kind of reminds me of like SK, but like when a man is just kind of like weird and problematic, or just kind of like weird, give weird energy, you should just kind of like go the other direction, because you see what happens when you give somebody like SK the time of day and you see what he's doing. I just think, if someone is not giving you that vibe, that interest, keep it moving, because there's probably something deeper there that you don't want to stick around and find out. You don't want to F around and find out. You're going to end up like Raven. So just, keep it moving.
Hey, Latoya, what's your thoughts?
Okay, so the house dates, I saw a clip behind an exclusive or whatever, and Blue did a house date too. So I don't know if like production is just trying to save money and have these men cook for these women, because Blue did the same thing for the young lady who got eliminated, Jonique. But anyway, the date obviously didn't have much energy. I felt like when she asked a question about his seduction language or something, that question might have thrown him off. And I feel like he said, let's dance, as a way not to really answer questions. Like I don't think he felt comfortable sitting there watching her eat, looking in her face. And so he was just like, well, I'm going to put some music on. And I think it was just a way to break up the energy, and that it was an uncomfortable situation for him. I feel like Sue, when she's on dates, she has this very, she's observing people, like she's looking for their responses to be a certain way, and then you see her in the split screen confessional and she's like, no, that didn't hit the mark. No. So I don't know if people are picking up on her energy too. That's very like an evaluation, like you missed that opportunity, negative 10 points. You know what I'm saying? Because you get the real deal when she's in a confessional and she's like, no. So I think that's why she tends to be on the bottom a lot, because they don't feel like they're getting the real her. So it was just a bad combination and a total sham, honestly. Not fun to watch at all.
Good points. Shani there? Maybe not. All right, Sophie,
I'm
go
sorry,
for it.
did you call me?
Oh yeah, I was going to say, what was your thoughts on the date between 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 Anthony and Suan at his home?
Oh, like I said, I was surprised it was. I spoke on it already, but I was surprised it was Suan and not Cynthia. It was awkward. I had the same questions Black Maid and Seaway had. I was kind of like, this is confusing.
Okay, Soph.
Yeah, same thing. I think I mentioned it earlier. If the dance felt forced a little bit, but then I do like Latoya's point where maybe he did it to not have, to break away from an awkward situation. Yeah, he's trying. Maybe he's being pressured to stay on the show. Suan is definitely linked up with Blake. You can tell. She wasn't, she's asking about him putting an effort in, but what interest has she completely shown about him? He's one of her people, but I think she's definitely chosen Blake, and this was like a filler. That's how it felt.
Fair point. Sean, the date at the house.
Yeah, I think it was kind of awkward, and I think that I don't think any of the men really are interested in Suan. It's not what I just don't see that. I don't think her connection is on the show. I think that I don't know if she's just going along to get along and they've just got an agreement. The same with Blake. I don't think there's really a genuine interest there. With that kiss that they shared, yeah, they could save that awkward dance that her and Anthony shared. They could save that. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with dancing in the house. I think that's a fun thing to do, but just the way it was placed to me seemed very awkward. It seemed like if a woman is saying to me, like, I'm not seeing your interest, right? I don't see an intensity. I don't see that you are moving the needle along to show me that there's a level of attraction there. Dancing with her wouldn't be the first place that I think I would start, or nor should you start, right? Let me hold your hand, right? And let's, move the gap, because it's obviously a gap between where, she's telling you, usually it's men, we're feeling like we're in the friend zone and we want to move to the next level. If a woman is telling you, I'm just feeling like there's nothing coming off of you, I guess it was like he followed her lead because she said she enjoyed the last time they danced. So let's just duplicate the dance. I don't think that's the answer. The answer is, show me that you're attracted to me. Show me that you're interested. Let's move this beyond a friendship. We can dance in the club. If that dance is not translating to anything else, unless he's going to do the Dutty wine with her, I'm not sure how that was doing anything. It seemed very just ill-placed to me. So I'm not going to, my other panelists, they, covered it clearly. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I will say that it's just, he's not doing himself any service, right? So when we start to do all the math and add the pieces together, the floor mat, this silly dancing, not really being direct and answering questions. He played a little toe tap dancing, with her when they were at the dinner table, and she was like, well, do you like me? And he was like who? Like me? Like what? It's like, oh, come on, bro. You're full grown, man. Like, I just need you to just say what it is. Either tell her you're not interested. I really like you. I think you have a lot to offer, but I don't see a connection. I would respect that more than all this foolishness and all of this, two-stepping that he's doing. So that's what I think.
Sammy Sam, talk to me.
Okay, so to not repeat what the other panelists said, because I agreed with most of the things that were said, but as usual, I always have my own touch. So I think that why is production setting them up together? The last episode, they were clear that they don't like each other, especially, when I say don't like there's not an attraction. He said it clearly. So why seeing a date between the two of them? That didn't make sense. And it didn't even make sense for the date to be in his house because he don't like her like that. So why have her in his environment? So it feels forced. Maybe Cynthia was not available or something. I don't know. He don't like her. and that's why it's forced. And it's like shut up and dance, just to make it clear, like to make it short. It was a shut up and dance situation. I must say I was a little bit cringy when I was saying Suan talking. I like what Suan represents. I just don't like the way she approached dating in the show. She's acting like he was supposed to be, into her. Girl, Blake is barely there, and that's because you are his advocate, like Jeffrey likes to say. So for me, I feel like she might also be missing a point, but it's not showing, and that makes me sad because I like Suan. I like what she represents. She's beautiful. She has everything going on for herself. But in the show so far, she blocked. She blocked like potential connection because she was so focused on what Blake and Jeffrey had going on. I'm questioning why he's still there at this point. I feel like just like Jolene, he may be ready to love, but the person for him is not part of the cast. That's it for me.
Appreciate Lorraine, go for it. Haven't had for you in a little while. Talking about Anthony's shambolic date on with Swan at his house.
So Anthony, I think I spoke about him last week, and I said he's a bit of a dark horse in the sense that everyone had shown him interest, and I was reflecting on that, thinking about why when I was watching this episode. And his profession, he's a nurse practitioner. It'll be interesting to find out whether that's physical or mental health field. Either way, people who are in the health field usually have kind of a defender kind of personality type. So they kind of lead with emotion, they're kind of intuitive, open, welcoming. So it's not surprising that a lot of women, even if you watch the first episode, they were drawn to him. He had a connection with Mercedes, he had a connection with Morgan, he also had a connection with Cynthia, a connection with Suan. So a lot of women are really drawn to him, and I feel like that's got something to do with his profession. And then on the other hand, people who also work in the health profession, which is why I said it will be interesting to find out if it's physical or mental, have to have a guard up. You kind of have to have a church and state kind of perspective, because of the fact that your role is very giving. You give so much of yourself that you kind of have to be closed off a little bit when you're in your personal life, so you're not kind of taking your work home. So I'm not sure if that plays into it with Anthony. I do feel like he has got, when he's speaking to someone like Cynthia, for example, he's much more forthcoming. He's much more forthcoming about what he wants, what he's looking for, and all that kind of stuff. He doesn't have the same kind of communication with Suan. He just doesn't like her, and maybe he just doesn't know how to let her down. I'm not sure. I think he had the date at the house because he's got a nice house, and it's not the first time they've had dates in the house. They had that with Ron, they had that with Joelle. So I feel like maybe they do ask the cast members, whoever's comfortable to have a date in the house, they can go ahead and do that. The mat, for me, I didn't see as zesty. I saw the mat as kind of derogatory, actually, which is why I'm saying he's a bit of a dark horse. I saw it as derogatory, and I kind of thought that whatever man who kind of uses those kind of terms, if he's going to use that, whether it's in a light-hearted term, best believe it's in an argument, he's going to be calling you all kind of names. Okay, so I see why some people might have got a zesty feel from him, just because of that, and him not being as forthcoming and how he was interacting with Suan. But yeah, that Matt for me said everything that I needed to know. There's a lot more to Anthony than meets the eye. For me, I take it as quite derogatory, actually. So yeah, but that day it was just Suan, like, that man doesn't want you. You don't want that man as well. So she doesn't want him. I think she was just asking for the sake of asking. Maybe she just wants to have another option, including Blake. But it was a pointless date nonetheless.
I hear that. JR, talk to me.
Yeah, I can definitely see, like I said before, how his mannerisms may be something to do with his profession, but I can't give him a way out. Like, he's not feeling Suan like that. The mat, I can see why it was derogatory in some people's eyes, because like he lives by himself and with his kid, and I know he ain't calling his kid the B word, and I know he doesn't refer to himself as the B word, so I can definitely see why it's taken in that context. But yeah, like I said, for me, he's just like Janique, maybe a cool person, but I just don't think his person's on the show, and I don't think he should fake the funk either. He had Suan in his presence. If there was a spark there, then something would have sparked. He would have clicked. It didn't. I agree. It could have been, okay, you know what? The conversation's dry. This is boring. Let's go up and do something fun. Let's just dance like we did it at the club. And then you can leave. But there's no connection there. There never was. She's not feeling him. She's feeling Blake. She sat on Blake's lap the other day, rubbed his back, kissed him. And they kind of, she was kind of calling him boyfriend already and stuff like that. So I think this was probably a backup option for her, just to keep her in the game. And she doesn't have one in Anthony that we can all see. And he, being at the bottom this time, it was Mark Anthony that got the lifeline, but he could have easily gone home. He's not feeling anyone. So it is what it is. I'm not sure he lasts to the end, because I don't see him and Cynthia bonding that well unless something miraculous happens next week. But I always thought that the connection he had with Cynthia was stronger. But now that, and Cynthia also said that now that Andre's back, he now is back on top. Like, Anthony was just a placeholder while Andre was out. So maybe Cynthia's attention is going to shift back to Andre as well, and that leaves Anthony with no connections.
All right, appreciate it. Good work. I'm gonna move on as well to the next person. I just want to read some super chats from you guys. Much appreciation. Phil Good said earlier on, and I kind of took so long to read it. He said, too friendly mean you talk to too many attractive people, and I don't like it. That was earlier on in the conversation when we spoke about being too friendly. Tara's World says we already she's irrational by how we already know she's irrational by how she handled Blake. Too many truths are told in jokes. Run Tony. Shout out Tara's World as well. And Sandria says he was passive with Cynthia. She led the whole date as well. Shout out to Sandria as well. Appreciate you guys in the super chats as well. Keep sending your super chats and we'll post up your messages on here as well. It's greatly appreciated. All right. And this is the final part. Someone said it was apparently the mat is from a Roddy Ricch line. I don't know if that's coincidence or whether that's just the mats that they chose. It could be. So I don't know who Roddy Ricch is. I know he's a rapper, but I don't know anything else. I've never heard of his music, so I don't know.
It doesn't make it better.
That's very true. He doesn't, to be honest. he still chose that line to put on the mat. So yeah, that's what's going on at the moment. Let's shift it on from Anthony's covers date. Then let's move on to another date that was happening. We'll finally get on to Mark Anthony and Jeffrey, because you know what? I'll be honest with you. All right, Mark Anthony and Jeffrey. Mark Anthony was talking the most with Jeffrey, like, he really wanted to rub her feet, rub her back, and run a hot bath and, look after those 3 kids that he said he didn't want to look after, but he suddenly wants to look after all of a sudden.